All right. Hey, we want to welcome you to Creature Feature Live here at South Slough National Estuarine Research Reserve. My name is Tom Gaskill, and I'm the Education Program Lead here at the Reserve. And I have with me as helpers today a couple of AmeriCorps members. Let them introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Isabella Karazi, and I'm an Interpretive Outreach Specialist. And I'm Kylie McDermott, and I'm the South Slough AmeriCorps Science Outreach Specialist.
All right. And today what we're going to do is delve into a couple of really interesting facets of South Slough. So we'll be looking at the watershed, and we'll also be looking at the estuary. And the creatures that we have to feature today are quite amazing. So I have to tell you a little bit about the origin of Creature Feature for me. I grew up in Chicago, and on Saturdays we used to watch television, and there was a show called Creature Features with a guy named Sven Gulli. And it was always about these monsters, these crazy, I don't know, Godzilla and, King Kong and all this. But I learned later on in my training as a biologist that the creatures of the real world are quite fascinating. And I wouldn't call them monsters, but they're pretty amazing. So what we'll be doing today is sharing with you some of the creatures that South Slough features. A little bit about what South Slough is. It's a National Estuarine Research Reserve, which means it's a 5,000-acre protected area where we study estuaries and their watersheds. And we're located on the southern Oregon coast near Coos Bay, Oregon. In fact, Coos Bay is the big bay, the estuary, and South Slough is the southern arm of that. And we're part of a system of 28 National Estuarine Research Reserves from all around the country. And that is managed by NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and here in the state of Oregon by the Oregon Department of State Lands. Now, I have to tell you that today's program is also live to people in our classroom. And so it's possible that we might look over this way because we have some visitors here, kind of a studio audience, so to speak. But first, we're going to get right into the creatures. So Isabella is going to help me to explore the uplands of the watershed. Yep. So why don't you have a seat there, Isabella, and we'll talk a little bit. So our first creatures are actually featured right behind us here and on the screen. So what I have here is nothing more than a video camera. You can see my great big hand there. And the video camera displays on the screen. But the cool thing is we can drill down on that and we can actually look quite closely at some of these creatures. So watersheds are the area of land that drains down to a common creek or river that then gradually flows into the estuary. And in South Slough, our watershed drains into Winchester Creek. That's the primary creek, although we have lots of other little creeks and streams that feed in. And that's where the fresh water comes from in an estuary, right? But there are many animals that live in the uplands of South Slough, and some of them are creatures that we have featured today. And I want to look at this first one here. So we've got, I'm going to zoom in, and we'll see if this this character will cooperate for us here. All right. Isabella, who's this?
I believe that creature is the rough-skinned newt.
Yes, yes, that is right there is my giant finger here pointing to the rough-skinned newt. You can see that in the picture. And he's walking, he's getting a little camera shot. What do we know about the rough-skinned newt, Isabella?
Well, its skin looks pretty rough.
It's bumpy. It's bumpy. Should I, you know what, can I handle this rough-skinned newt?
Yeah, you can.
I can?
Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to tell me about handling the rough-skinned newt?
Yeah, make sure you don't ingest the rough-skinned newt.
Oh, all right. I will do my best.
Keep it away from your mouth.
Ingest. See, he seems to be okay and comfortable with me touching him. And there we can see, it's kind of hard. Oh, look at that. You can see those bumps on the rough-skinned newt. Do those bumps, is there anything in particular about the bumps? Why do I have to be careful handling this guy?
Because its skin produces a toxin.
A toxin, a poison.
Yeah, poison.
All right.
If ingested.
If ingested.
Yeah.
So I do not want to eat a rough-skinned newt.
Unless you are crazy.
Oh, I'm not crazy. All right, well, as far as I can tell, I'm not crazy, but I have my son working over there on the controls. He could probably vouch for the fact that I'm not completely crazy yet. All right. All right. So this is rough skin newt, and I want to just show, it's kind of brown on top. I think our viewers can see that. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this rough skin newt right up to our webcam here. And there, the viewers can get a better view of that rough skin newt. And you can see that the chin of the rough skin newt is actually orange, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and in fact, it's not just the chin. Hi, how are you? I'm going to lift him up. This might make him a little bit uncomfortable, but we can see that the belly. So, yeah. Oh, you're fine. People know you're here. So we're broadcasting live over the internet today, and you're not on camera, so you don't need to worry about that. But this rough skin newt actually has this orange underside, and one of the reasons for the orange underside is that when a rough skin newt is not on land, which is much of the time, it is in the water, and when they're in the water, they want to avoid being seen from below because are there things that eat rough skin newts?
Yes, there are things that eat rough skin newts.
What eats a rough skin newt?
There's one known animal that is resistant to the toxin, and it is the garter snake.
I'm going to put him back. He's like showing me he's uncomfortable. So garter snakes are resistant to the toxin?
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. Let's see if we can get him on camera here. Better. So, all right. So garter snakes can actually eat rough skin newts, and the toxin does not bother them. Is that right?
That is right.
Wow. And in the water, I would imagine a fish would probably have a hard time with a rough skin newt, but it's possible that they could swim up underneath maybe and grab that rough skin newt and swallow it. So that lightness of color helps with the rough skin newt not being able to be seen from below when it's swimming across the surface. But on the forest floor, we've got some bright green foliage here, but on the forest floor, it would actually blend in very well. We've got a brown stick here, and you can kind of see, although that's pretty light too, but leaf litter would end up kind of bothering it. So we have another character from the uplands, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so let's switch our focus here a little bit. This one is a shy actor. So we'll pull him out in a second, but you can get a good look there at his toes and the lines on across the chest. He's being very camera shy here. Apparently we didn't settle a good contract. There we go. So what kind of salamander is this a salamander?
Yes, this is a northwestern salamander.
Northwestern salamander. Nice. And what do we know about the northwestern salamander?
Well, they are carnivorous.
Okay.
So what does that mean?
They eat.
Yes, they eat meat.
They eat meat, of course. Okay. So these animals eat meat, and what kind of meat would they eat?
So they eat insects, spiders, worms, and slugs.
Okay. And so here at South Slough, we actually feed these animals. Hi, how are you? Welcome. Good. They actually, here at South Slough, we feed the northwestern salamander, this big guy here, crickets. So you can hear the crickets chirping in the background here. And in a little bit, Isabella will bring these two over and you can have a little bit closer look. Now, can we touch the northwestern salamander without washing our hands?
I believe you can.
You could touch it, but you wouldn't want to eat afterwards, right?
Right.
Because
you would want to wash your hands.
Because they also have poison, don't they? And these big glands right here, in the head, I'm kind of shading it out, but these big glands right there are actually glands that produce a poison for this animal. So salamanders and newts, one of their defenses is to produce a poison. And but we learned earlier that the northwestern garter snake can resist that poison.
Yes.
What about this one here? Northwestern salamander, you think a garter snake could eat that?
I don't know. Can it?
I would guess probably not. That would be a big mouthful. That'd have to be a great big northwestern garter snake, but there are other snakes that would probably eat that. All right, so And I think we've got such a good view of this one. I'm just going to pick him up quickly, though, for our viewers online to see the great, and this has got a really fun scientific name, Abystoma gracile is the name of this. And we're going to show online here so that our viewers can see the beautiful northwestern salamander. Now, this really does look like a creature that you might feature in a horror film or something. I mean, if you were very small like a cricket, this would be pretty spooky to you.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And he's not really happy about being held, so I'm going to put him back. He's showing a little bit of anxiety. So I'm going to move. So one last thing, Isabella, is these creatures, if we were to find them, where would we find them in South Slough? What kind of habitat do they live in?
They live in cool, moist environments.
Okay. So you give them a little spray?
Yeah, give them a little spray. They would like that.
Yep, they blink, but I think they smile. So they're happier. All right, so they like it in the cool, moist areas, and that means they're amphibians, right? So frogs and salamanders, newts are amphibians. They can breathe through their skin, which is pretty outrageous, and they have lungs too, right? In some cases, they have gills, external gills that they absorb back into their body. I don't know if you knew that.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's so one of the most beautiful salamanders that we have here in the Northwest is the Pacific giant salamander. We don't have one of those to share today, but you see the size of this northwestern salamander. This is a 6-inch long ruler. Just hold that up there, about 15 centimeters. And he's better than that. He's probably 20 centimeters, maybe 8 inches long. The Pacific Northwest giant salamander grows to be 14 inches long. So this is a big animal, and I've only seen a few of those in my life. So, you want to look at a reptile?
Yeah, I want to look at a reptile.
All right. We're going to place these amphibians right over here so that our local viewers can look, but don't touch. All right. And we had a kind of a surprise this morning. So we were out on the warm, sunny patio, and it's a nice, warm, sunny day here at South Slough. And we discovered a very interesting creature. This creature is kind of curled up in its habitat here. So I'm going to use the camera, I think, to put him on the screen for us and see if we can see it that way. And I don't know if we can tell very well. Right up there is actually where this creature is. And this creature is a reptile, not an amphibian. So I'm going to see if I can get this reptile to cooperate. But I'll tell you, these reptiles like this can be pretty tricky. So this is a northern alligator lizard. And he's kind of cooled down a little bit. Maybe you can see why they're called northern alligator lizards. He's being very docile right now. And I have a feeling what happened was we put him in with some crickets, and he may have eaten a cricket, and so he's kind of filled up. But that's the northern alligator lizard. And I'm surprised at how calm and quiet he's being, because their response typically is to run very quickly. Is there anything you wanted to share in particular about the northern alligator lizard?
Yes. Do you know what the northern alligator lizard eats?
Other than these crickets that I put in the tank, I haven't a clue. What do they eat?
Well, northern alligator lizards typically eat anything they can catch and swallow. So,
so you mean I should be nervous right now?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, they eat beetles, grasshoppers, snails, and wasps, and sometimes other lizards. Well, I think you're safe, Tom.
All right. I'm a bit too big for this guy. All right. And do northern alligator lizards, do you know their defense mechanism?
I don't.
All right. Well, northern alligator lizards, if they are being chased, they have a tricky defense. Is if the animal gets too close and it looks like there's going to be, they're going to be eaten, they shed the tail. So We were lucky when we caught this guy. We were very careful to not touch his tail because we didn't want to injure him or shed him. And he's a temporary visitor for us here. And now he's waking up and getting a little bit warmer. We're going to put him up close to our camera here for our viewers. And northern alligator lizards, again, are reptiles, so they really like it when it's warm out and dry. And they use their tongue to sense the air. So he's just doing that for a second. And then we have a nice little habitat, but now he's starting to warm up and he's going to be very happy to move around quickly, although he doesn't seem to be too nervous about getting off my hand. So, and he can't climb these walls, so we can move him over here and have him look like a northern alligator lizard. All right, so those are a couple of creatures from the uplands of the watershed, and thank you, Isabella, for helping out with highlighting that. Is there anything you want to say to our viewers before we move on to the estuary proper?
I want to say that lizards are really cool.
They are really cool. I think that really the northern alligator lizard and these two creatures that we have, the rough-skinned newt and the northwestern salamander, have captivated a lot of people here at South Slough. And if you come out to the reserve and you get out on our trails, what you'll find, depending on the time of year, this time of year, northern alligator lizard, much more common because it's warmer and drier. But then in the fall and into the winter, and particularly in the early spring, rough-skinned newts crossing the trail. We counted 87 on one hike. 87? 87. So there was some. They were probably moving to their spawning grounds, which are wetlands, and then we were able. Yeah, it was quite fun to do that. But you always want to be careful whether you see rough-skinned newt, northwestern salamander, northern alligator lizard, any of these creatures. Handle them, if you handle them at all, open-handed and with respect, and put them back where you found them. And if you turn over a log, gently put it back. It's not good to disturb their habitat.
Right.
So we take the best care we can. With these two, they live in a terrarium, and we feed them every day, and that alligator lizard will actually be out and about here shortly. So
cool.
Hey, Gary, real quick before you sign off, someone wants to know how the salamander eats wasps without being stung. The venom.
Great question. So, any guesses, Isabella, on how they do that?
I don't know. I could look it up.
Sure.
Really quick.
Yeah, let's do a little research and see if we can come back to that. So Kylie's going to work with us next, and maybe you can look and see what you can find out about that later in the program. We do have wasps here at South Slough, so if they eat wasps, we have wasps for them. All right, well, thanks, Isabella.
Yep.
All right, and Kylie, come on in, and I'll show you just a little preview of the creature that we're going to feature next, which is a creature from the estuary.
Going to the estuary.
All right, come on in, Kylie.
Okay.
And Kylie, what are we going to talk about today? Here, we can just set this right down.
Yeah.
Set it down here.
We're going to talk about the Dungeness crab today.
The Dungeness crab. And the Dungeness crab is a pretty important crab here in the Pacific Northwest. Is that right?
Incredibly important, yes.
Why
Can
is
we show
that?
everybody one of the delicious looking specimens?
Oh, a live Dungeness crab? We can. So we'll start with the adult. Is that what we're going to do? All right. I'm going to reach in and whoops. And hopefully without getting grabbed by this Dungeness crab. She doesn't seem very excited to come out. There we go. All right, Kylie. So the webcam, we can put her, right there.
Oh my gosh.
She's moving a lot more than the other one that we have there. Let's put her over like that.
That looks mighty tasty, Tom, doesn't it?
Do crabs have ears?
Because we don't want to offend her.
That's right, we don't want to.
Can I go ahead and can I eat that one? Can I take that one home for supper?
Kylie, I think that would be kind of a small bite, and I'm pretty sure it's illegal.
Why would you say that?
Well, I'm guessing that is, for one thing, I don't even know, is that a male or a female? Right?
Can we find out?
I don't know. What do we do?
No?
Now remember, the viewers at home have to look over your shoulder. You want to come over here?
Yeah. Okay, so the way that we tell if it's a male or a female is by flipping it over nice and gentle. Oh, hello. You're okay. I really like you. Oops. Okay, so we want to look at this structure here. Oh, you're fine. And we can compare it to the male structure. The shape is a little different. And today we have both a male and a female Dungeness crab. So we can pull out our male too.
All right, yeah, I've got another tub right here.
Okay.
He seems a little more relaxed with this whole thing. Maybe he's been on TV before.
Yeah, he's comfortable. So we can see that the structure on the male looks a lot different than the structure on the female. It's nice and narrow and more pointed. So here it is on the female again. It's more broad and wide.
I think we call that the telson or tail.
Telson.
Yeah. And can we maybe look at some other parts of these
Yeah.
crabs? So pull this up a little bit and see if we can focus again.
But Tom, why would it be illegal to have the female?
Well, the females lay the eggs, don't they? So if we harvested the females, we're not only taking the crab that we caught, but we're also taking the potential for new crabs out of the population, right? All right, so, which is not so great. We want to have crabs for the future because these are important commercial and recreational fisheries for us in Oregon, right? All right. So these pinchers are also called chelipeds, and they're very strong. You can see they grab down. They use that for defense, but they also use that for what?
Oh, well, just like us, we need something. Yeah, they grab things. You're right. They grab things and pull it to their mouth to nom on.
And what do crabs eat?
Well, crabs are scavengers, but they will also find little clams and shrimp to eat on too. So they'll be filtering through detritus, the dead stuff that collects at the bottom of the estuary.
They will eat the skin of dead things. They're like dead things. So let's look at this one. I turned him over. This is our male. Turn him over. Isn't he?
Yeah.
I think so too. So one of our local audience members has said these crabs are very pretty, and I would have to say I agree. I think they're very handsome. Many different kinds of crabs, but these crabs weren't always this size, right? They were smaller.
I guess not. No.
Now, if I could talk to you at home, I would ask you, have any of you ever found a dead crab on the beach? I'm willing to ask our local audience. Has anybody ever found a dead crab on the beach? You have? You have? Did it stink? No? Yes? Oh, we have conflicting reports here. Maybe yes, maybe no. Well, did you know that in order for crabs to grow, they have to get rid of their shell, right?
Right.
So Kylie, do you want to tell us how that happens? We've got some examples here.
Yes. So, unlike us, crabs have their shell on the outside of their body, their skeleton on the outside. We call it an exoskeleton. And as a crab gets bigger, it needs to actually crawl out of that exoskeleton. And the way that it does that is it splits this outside part is called a carapace. Oh, there we go. And it splits it down at this bottom line here, the little suture line. And little chemicals inside break down the parts that connect the crab to the shell itself. And it actually scoots out of here, backs right out.
It's like it pulls out of this shell.
Mm-hmm.
And then that crab, is it soft or is it hard?
Well, yes, then it's a soft-shelled crab. So its shell hasn't fully formed quite yet, but it'll bury itself in the sand and wait until its shell gets nice and hard so that it can stay protected.
cool. And I think, this particular, what do we call this? Crab skin? Is that what we call it?
Crab skin? Oh, no, it's called a molt.
A molt.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Is this the skin of the crab, or is this the skeleton?
It's the skeleton, right? So crab skeletons on the outside of their body.
Cool. And if we look in there, it's amazing the number of features that are still inside the body. And here I have one where we can take the back off of it. You can see that the top here has these nice molt lines to it, where the crab has come out of its shell, so it's opened up, and then that breaks away. And if we look inside, I'm really going to zoom down in and see if we can. It's hard sometimes to figure out. There. So we can see that the gills of the crab are actually, these are the gill covers of the crab. So gills, because the crab is underwater most of the time, breathing oxygen dissolved in the water. But this isn't where it begins, is it? There
No,
are
not quite.
earlier stages. All right, should we look at some of those earlier stages?
Let's do small.
I have to track that down. So I come over here.
Do you know what else has gills? What else has gills?
See if we can do this if I get it stuck.
Shrimp have gills. What else has gills?
Fish.
And fish too, right. So crabs have gills just like fish do. So they filter the water to get the oxygen that they need to breathe.
I have one here that's cooperating well.
Okay.
Let's see if we can maybe we put it in smaller. All right, forget about that. So,
Oh, we can see it.
yeah, we'll come up to this. You could see it, and then Tom moved the microscope and videos. There we go.
Beautiful.
All right.
Is
So if you want
this
to,
a crab?
it doesn't really look like a crab. So here's this adult crab, right? And I don't know that that looks particularly like an adult crab to me. I'm going to put that
No.
back here.
Not really.
All right. So it's not a crab? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, it is a crab.
It
It's a much
is.
younger crab.
Ah.
So this is called a megalope, and this is a larval form of a crab. So you can see it's called a megalope because it has two great big eyes that kind of look like Mickey Mouse ears there. And this little crab, it will grow all the way to the size of the Dungeness crabs that we saw earlier. And conveniently, it has a little spine running along its back. So be careful if you see these anytime. Don't put your fingers too near, it might sting you. But that's good for this little guy because it protects it from its predators. If they put it inside their mouth, they might not really like being stung inside their mouth very well.
Now, Kylie, I have another one here. I'm put on I'm pretty sure it's a crab, but I'm not positive. So, let's see if I can get it. So if you look at it,
I see it.
you see it? I see it too. Wow, this one looks different.
Yes, it
This
does.
one looks different than any crab I have ever seen before, any megalope that I've ever seen before.
See, it's
So I wonder if this is a different kind of megalops. You know, maybe, so there's not just one kind of crab out there, is there?
different.
He looks different.
It does look
I
different.
agree. I agree. And that's one of the fun things, I think, about biology, is that we get to look at the differences. He's very shy of the camera. Every time we try and show him, he wants to move away. But let's see. Well, we can see here, maybe if I back up a little bit. And, there. Now we can watch him do his movement. But that crab still, that megalope, still has that tail, doesn't it? And the big eyes, and that's what megalope means, is big eyes. Megalops, big eyes. So, interesting. It'd be interesting to see what that one grows into.
Yes, it would.
Very, very different. All right, but this isn't where it begins either, right? So
Yeah, how small are they when
how
you're
small.
born?
So they're even smaller than this because they are in these eggs underneath the telson or the tail of the female, and they hatch, and they become a part of what we call the zooplankton. And so I have a microscope over here, and with our video scope, I can take this. This is going to probably make you a little sick, but this is what we call, I'm just going to hold this up for our viewers at home. This is a plankton sample. And Kylie, you want to share the plankton net?
Yes.
Just to collect that and maybe talk a little bit about it while I get our video scope set up. Make sure you show it to the viewers at home too. So. All right.
Okay, so how did we catch this plankton? How do we know that it's plankton, right? Goodness. Do you want to see it?
Mix it in water and what's inside of it? What's inside of it?
So plankton are the microscopic base of the food web in the estuary. They're phytoplankton, which are plant plankton, and zooplankton, which are animal plankton. So in order to catch something microscopic, we need microscopic holes in a net, right? So can you see holes in here? No, it doesn't really look like there are holes in here, but we can kind of see through it. It's opaque, so that we know that there are tons of teeny tiny holes in here. So this morning, Bella and I, we went down to the docks. We put this in the water and drug it through a few times back and forth. So the water filtered through, caught a bunch of plankton, and down here, we call this the cod end. The plankton collected inside of this bottle. So when we pulled it out of the cod end, it was that nice green, rich green color. That way we can tell there are tons of little tiny microscopic plants in there.
So, and Kylie, what I've done is I've put a sample up here on the microscope. So let's have a look at that. And you can see something moving. I can too. And what I see here is that we've got a lot of life. It's very dense, that sample. But moving through that life, even though it's only about not even a centimeter deep, we have so much life that it's almost impossible to see what's going on. So I have another sample here, but we can see some things zooming across. These are the zooplankton, and these might be the larval crab. So the earlier stage before the megalops is called the zoea. Yeah, zoea. And the zoea are tiny little crabs, very small. So small we have to use a microscope to see them. So now what I'm going to do is switch my slide here to a sample that's not quite so deep, although it's very dense. And let's see if we can see any more from this. Oh, it's still so dense. We've got so much life on there, it's almost impossible to tell what kind of life we have. All those, now we can zoom in a little bit. And what we see here is that some of these, their lighting is now great. Let's see if we can change that. Is that we've got these microscopic plants. There we go. That's what it was. Much better. All right. So these little filaments here are called phytoplankton, and these are the microscopic plants that start in the food chain or food web. Let's see if we've got any zoea here. Not real obvious that we do. Oh, who's this swimming around? Oh, so this is actually a larval worm. So this is an early stage of the life of a worm that can grow to be quite long. You know, can get to be a great big worm, but it's just swimming around in that early stage. All right, we'll zoom around a little bit more. Don't see anything too obvious. So working with microscopes can take a lot of practice, a lot of time. We can try one more sample here just to see. We'll dilute the sample a little bit more and see if we can get a good view. See if there are any crabzoia, and it's possible that the crabzoia just aren't here right now. So let's see. Lots of different diatoms. That's what these little box-like plants are. They're part of the algae. Oh, who's this character? Wow, so there's another one of those larval worms. And oh, that's a neat animal. So right there you can see these worms, they have segments and little eye spots, and these are called polychaetes. And the polychaete worms can swim through the water as adults, but they burrow down into the mud and sediment as well. So, well, I think that's kind of a fun creature to maybe feature to finish up here today. So, if you do have any further questions about some of the creatures that we have featured today on Creature Feature, you can send us a message. Our website is southsloughEstuary.org, and I'll post it with this YouTube video later on. This is also pre-recorded, or this is recorded live. It's not pre-recorded. This is live, and so, but it is recorded automatically. And so you can share this with your friends. It's on YouTube from now on. And so we hope to do these once a month, maybe more. And tell your friends that ought to be friends, tell your neighbors, tell your countrymen. Creature Feature at South Slough. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for coming today. All right, we'll see you later.